Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know we have a number of people in the gallery, so if you are in the gallery, I just ask that your cell phones are turned off, and staff and council as well. We will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and Apitsawak nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. And we are going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. And I would like to have a motion, please, that the agenda for the November 21st, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted with the removal of G4, Emergency Temporary Out of the Cold Shelter Initiative. Councillor Chenard.
I'll make the motion with the removal of G4.
All right, thank you. And CO Beveridge, do you want to speak to that?
Mr. Mayor, through to council, at this time we're not able to bring this item forward. We weren't prepared to be able to bring the emergency out in the cold. We do anticipate bringing this forward in the next, before the end of the year, for sure. We just weren't at this time ready for consideration from council at this time. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, the minutes of the November 7th, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, the minutes of the November 14th, 2023 budget meeting be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Any questions, comments, or concerns? See none? All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have a delegation tonight from the Yellowhead Agricultural Society, update regarding Arena 2023. And if you want to go ahead, turn on your mic there and introduce yourself.
My name's Jay Stewart. I'm the Vice President of the Ag Society and our building chair. With me tonight is Kaylee Grote, our president, Jenna Helmer, a director, Corey Pollock, another director, and Luke Roth. So put a face to it. We're a pretty new board compared to what's come forward in the past. To start with, I know that we were here last year, about a year ago, looking for funds to renovate the old existing arena. What had transpired once we started digging into it, the posts on the north wall were saturated, and the contractor advised us that he wouldn't be able to continue leaving it that dry and backfilling it and stuff like that and guarantee that there wasn't going to be issues because of the wet. So it was, we were given the option of proceeding with the rest of the demolition, but we would have no income from that building at the time. He had advised us that there was another builder in town which had done it's the detailing shop. Premium Builders was doing a metal building. They specialize in these types of structures. That for the cost that we were looking at spending on the renovation, we could have a new structure up as far as a shell. So we would be able to use something like that, and their timelines were quite good. So we, as a board, we looked at that. We proceeded to get some other estimates from other than just them. We got 3 estimates. We presented it to our membership. We held a special meeting, and they voted to go forward rather than wait on the old arena. So that puts us forward to today with all of our steps that we had taken to get our, obviously, building permits, our development permits, all that sort of stuff, get to the things that qualify us for that. So we're looking at, with the presentation now, we're looking at the new build. We've got, the builder has actually just started now. There are posts going up. So we're at that stage. What we had done is we'd taken our renovation mortgage. We had a mortgage at the time and just switched it over to a building mortgage. And we're at this position here today seeking funds to progress with this building, which you'll see through our presentation here. So I'll start with the first slide. This is our mission statement for council. The background of the society, it's been around since '75 within the town limits of Edson. The facility has grown to include the original indoor riding arena, which had been used by Yellowhead County residents and people in the Edson area. Approximately 63% of our visitors are from Yellowhead County, Edson area, and 37% are from surrounding jurisdictions, Whitecourt, Drayton Valley, Edmonton, and others. These are the user groups that we've experienced in the past. Compared to other nearby arenas, as Whitecourt and Thorsby, the indoor riding arena enjoyed about 90% utilization. And that number, where that comes from, is what we had booked prior to shutting the arena down for the renovation and stuff like that. With the new users, the demand had started to exceed the available time slots. These would be the prime times, so that's from 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the evening. During the daytime slots, there was always something different, and then going into the weekends with clinics and that sort of thing. Currently, with the old arena, because of its size, we're storing all of our equipment in outdoor sea cans at the west side of the building there. This is all of our jumping obstacles and our dog obstacles. We have a canine group that rents the arena regularly for training and stuff like that. So, so the market need that we've recognized with our facility, we're kind of unique in the sense with having a full-on rodeo grounds right close to our riding arenas. The first one that we noticed with being a majority of our members being in the industry, there's a crossover between rodeo people and all of the horse things. It's not strictly horse, but it gets into the cattle and all that sort of livestock. Team penners are traveling from Teepee Creek, Grand Prairie, all the way down to Rimbey, looking for indoor facilities with the attached availability for livestock. So it's attached to the arena, close proximity to the arena. So that's a huge market that hasn't been tapped because we're roughly in the middle. So they're having to travel to find these public arenas and stuff like that to rent. Our local 4-H clubs have required a facility. They've used our old indoor arena numerous times. We've actually had fresh requests now that they know that this one's coming. They're looking at bookings for July for regional 4-H activities and stuff like that, and the local 4-H. So June and July, they're already inquiring. So the first phase of this hopefully we'll be ready for that. The existing arena, or the old arena, because of its size, so it was 120 feet by 80 feet. There wasn't enough room to really put in once we had all the infrastructure there, bucking chutes for rodeos and stuff like that. There was no place to put bleachers. So prior, the plan was when we were going to do the renovation was we were going to take out one of the bucking chutes, and that would give us at least one bleacher area to accommodate spectators and stuff like that. So it limited us for our use. Historically, the indoor arena would be used 3 to 4 nights a week for practices, nights, and clinics throughout the year for multiple disciplines. Going forward in current use, the land that, as I mentioned, the arena size, the property, which everybody knows has an extremely large outside rodeo grounds, complete with bleachers, rodeo stands, stock sorting pens, the announcer's booth, rodeo office. Recently, we just had hosted a large fundraiser in Ranch Rodeos. We've got board members that are putting that on actually in quite a few of the communities throughout the area. Hinton and ours, Gold Estates and Piers, Hattonford. So that's been a huge moneymaker as far as involving in the community. The current indoor facility at this particular time, we would revisit it later on. Right now, we have to determine whether it can be repurposed, possibly used for cold storage. 3 fundraising events were held this summer in spite of our evacuations and fires and floods and all that sort of stuff. One of them being the Ranch Rodeo, which we raised $6,000 for cancers. Haying in the 30s, the Cancer Society, and 7,000 for the Ag Society. So it's a good fundraiser. We hosted a gymkhana, and we do a paws and ears. So that's with our dog group and our horse groups, and brings a lot of families in, that sort of thing. It's very well attended this year. The proposed investment that we're seeking is 1.224 million of capital in combination of debt, donation, sponsorship, and grant monies to build a post-frame indoor arena. This is a typical depiction of what the framework is going to be. If you go by the site right now, the north and the south wall posts are up in place. The structure that we are building is 90 by 200 with a 20-foot ceiling. So we've expanded it by a couple of feet widthwise, but it's a much longer building, so we'd be able to get bleachers in and accommodate spectators for that. Obviously, with the enclosed structures, it gives us year-round access and more into the winter months to get income. The building site in September, we had the pad groundwork completed. XL Resources donated the cat stuff. We had evaluations and estimates from other contractors. It would have been starting at about 25,000, so it was 100% donation from them. The finished product that we've put out to memberships to pick colors and stuff like that for the building, so it will be a gray, similar to the picture in the display here, with black trim, and then the finish once everything's done, ideally once we get the insulation and the heat and the tin up, this is what the building would look like on the inside. The new location is up more center to the left. You can see on the aerial photo there in red that it's up against the stock pens, the existing stock pens and stuff like that. So that gives us, as I'd mentioned, the advantage of attracting the team penner type, the roping type, with the availability of those containments. The old building, in its location, there was a fire pond, so even to purpose it, the west end of the building was somewhat unusable. That's where we have our sea cans storing our jumping and all of our equipment. And then there's also a dugout there for the fire suppression system and stuff like that, so they have a water supply. To the east of it there in red, that was used as parking. That could have been set up for cattle and stuff like that, but it just, the limited use with it, that's why we've opted to go for a larger size. Our projected anticipated timeline, fundings that we're looking at, obviously with everyone here, the grants that we've applied for and the funding that we're seeking here, and with the county, is in the fourth quarter here. Site preparation is underway. It's actually been completed. Structure construction is underway as we speak. They should be completed by December. Interior finishing and stuff like that going forward, we're looking into the second quarter. The landscaping to finish the build as it sits would happen into the second quarter. Our operations, we're hoping to be able to start back in. What we won't have is power and plumbing yet, but we have a commitment from some of the other companies to provide us with heating and lighting, temporary heat, construction heat and lighting, so that we could operate into January once we get past that. Our construction budget, as I mentioned, number one there, the site prep, XL Projects had donated that valuation for doing the cat work. Our development permit, which we purchased through the town here. The upgrade, the approach, there was a requirement to upgrade our approach to allow for larger vehicles that would be accessing the site, so that would be has been anticipated. Our building was Premium Builders. This was the original structure cost for that 200 foot by 90 by 20 foot ceiling building. Architecture and design, that was a requirement that we have get that for a building permit, so it had to be beyond the architectural designs from the builder for their building progressing through, because it's a public building, that we have enough exits and that sort of thing to meet code. General contractor, we've hired Richards Carpentry to be our general contractor, so the premium builders is essentially their own contractor. It's all in-house construction and stuff like that, but going forward with the electrical contractor and the plumbing contractors that we'd be looking at for roughing and the lighting and the gas for heat and that sort of thing. Gravel for the pad was donated by IPL. That's in place, that's being used as well. The doors, all of the additional doors that we would require. So these are all the things that we're covering basically with the mortgage and going forward here. The doors that you see, security cameras, additional arena dirt. So with the renovation we had, with that building, we had purchased new dirt. The dirt on the inside of arenas usually has about a 5-year life, and you get a lot of biohazards with it, and it actually does break down from constant use and stuff like that and becomes dust versus sand. So that's already been paid for previous, but now that we're adding another 70 feet by 90 feet, that would be the additional cost to fill up this arena. Permits would be our building permits. So that was from the phase 1 part. Phase 2, what we're looking at going forward is insulation. What's not mentioned on that part is actually the tin as well. Kick walls, as you can see in the picture, kick walls is something that we put in for the safety of the animals and the riders along the tin, so you're not rubbing up against the tin and stuff like that, as you can see in the picture. The approach upgrade would have to be completed, I believe, at that time. Concrete for the return alley, so that's for the ropers. Normally what it is the length of the building. It's essentially a cow sidewalk, 2 feet by 200 feet. They run up, they come out of the box when they're roping, and they go back down into the catch area, and they can return back up to go through again. The concrete for the return alley, we'll be approaching hopefully some of the other concrete companies in town to see if they'll do a donation on that. Constantly seeking more. The plumbing and the heaters would go in at that phase, and we would purchase bleachers so that any of the events that we're hosting, we can have spectators. Going forward from that, we've broken it down in phases so that depending on our funding and stuff like that, how we can progress and pay for this. Phase 2.5 includes the upgrades for the utilities. Again, some more architecture and design to meet our building codes. So obviously the electrical and the heating, a mezzanine construction. We're looking at putting a mezzanine up at one end of the arena. That would include our announcer's booth and a viewing area for public to get up and sit up in those areas. More bleachers, an air exchange unit would help with keeping the humidity down in the arenas. Helps the buildings last longer, as well as heat movement. So that would include the plumbing upgrade and the electrical upgrade and more heaters. Phase 3, we were looking at a 50-foot by 20-foot by 90-foot addition for cold storage and all of the equipment that we'd mentioned that's being kept in sea cans and stuff like that could go into that. This could be used as a warm-up area for any of the events that's going on in the arena as well. And then going beyond that, the pricing is based on the quotes that we've had from the builders. Phase 4, we're looking at a 60-foot by 20-foot. This would be a ground level addition along the south wall that we would have, that would be a viewing area that would give us ground level access for more people to view from the sides. We get windows in there, and then also washrooms, indoor washrooms. That's been a request from a number of members over the years. We do have heated outside toilets and stuff like that. We're still using porta potties at present, but we'd like to move into the 20th century. So that's what that goes for. Our ongoing commitments, as I mentioned, these have already been initiated and put into service. Excel did the groundwork, the gravel was in place. Those were donations by the Contractors, as we mentioned, the amount that we're seeking in funding and donations and grants. The construction mortgage that we do hold at the present is $466,000. Committed funds and service in lieu is the $30,000 that we've had from the businesses at present. Funding required is about $1,224,000 for the total project. What we're looking at is, for, when I say total project, it would be to have it up with phase 2 and phase 2.5 so that it's a full use year-round facility with the heating, the lighting, the insulation and stuff like that. Use of funds for phase 1 was the evaluation on at $597,000. Phase 2, an additional $246,000 for the insulation and the metaling. Phase 3 with the air handling units and the plumbing and stuff like that, and the mezzanine. Phase 3 being the extension, so that's the breakdown. The contingency was based on 6%. Average contingencies are usually from 5 to 10% with no income. That would be a potential problem. We don't see that in our forecasts with the market going into when we close the other indoor arena. And what we see for market need. Comparing to, as I mentioned, the other arenas, they don't have the facility that we have as far as the livestock handling adjacent to the arena. We've applied for grants through the year to go forward to see if we qualified. So UFA had a rural grant. These ones have already passed. We weren't successful with the UFA one. There's Army grants through the Ag Society. We're not as successful there. The agricultural societies at that point. Some of these, if you look at the agricultural societies, that would be something we could apply for again next year, having the structure up. The tendency when we applied for it, construction hadn't started and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of grants that once there's a building in place, the steps going forward that we would be able to qualify for. The CFEP grant, it was a matching grant that we're waiting to hear from. I believe it's either the end of this month here or December when it closes. I don't have that in front of me. And we're actively seeking additional options, working with a grant writer. We have an associate counsel of legal lobby professionals helping us with assistance with the government. We're here today asking the town of Edson for a commitment of $300,000 to fund the construction. In these other 2 phases is what we're looking for. Construction on the building site, as I mentioned, has already started, so we're working within the phase 1. Appendix. There is an updated, I have to apologize, our cash flow and forecast. There is an updated, our year end just ended in September, so we just got our unaudited financial information just here the other day. So that we can send to you tomorrow. So we can give you an updated cash flow forecast. This was, this one's updated. Yeah, that's just the one. Yeah. So there is a cash flow forecast going forward into 2024 and then ending from 2023. So we'll have to get you the updated information on that.
All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll open the floor to questions from council. I will let you know that we're not going to make any decisions tonight, of course, but we will take this information and consider it moving forward. We will start with Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the chair to Mr. Stewart. When you talk about livestock and stuff, so with this facility, because currently it's just a riding stable. Now with this new design, with the corrals and stuff, would it be used for, like, say, 4-H sales and auctions and other things like that? Is that open up to more stuff than just riding it?
Yeah, we weren't just a riding facility in past as well. There was rodeo activity, so it has gone through. So 4-H did use it, so it was used for 4-H. We have a dog group that was using it 1 or 2 nights a week, that they were always looking for time and stuff like that. So it wasn't just that. This will open it up with its physical size to a lot more groups. We already have, currently, as I mentioned, the 4-H groups, we're looking for time slots into the summer here. We have the high school rodeo groups are looking for another indoor venue because they float through the province. So there's the rodeo groups as well as so a lot of youth use as well. So there's a regional that they're looking at and a local for the 4-H that they've approached us already.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Through the mayor, to our guest, how many spectators would you be able to accommodate with the bleachers?
The new bleachers, because we'd be able to use, we were looking at very small bleachers. I think at best guess there would have been 30 with the original arena. We should be able to double that to 60 or 80 with the width, because we're going 90 feet, not just using a single half of the arena and stuff like that. And a lot larger, like the ceiling height. I think we were around 17 feet or something like that in the old arena, just the ceiling height, so that it's beneficial for our horse people that do jumping and stuff like that too. They need the height.
Thank you.
Councillor Shenard.
Yes, through the mayor. Question for you, where you said stage or phase 1, 2, and 3, like if something goes wrong, what stage would you have to halt at that you could function? Because you said if you're hoping to get it finished by January,
Yes,
temporary power,
yeah.
so it'd be like stage.
Stage 2, we would be functional. Just even for reference, the original arena, I don't think they had heat in there for about 2 or 3 years. And then they insulated it and got the heat in and stuff like that. So people will still come and use it. I'm one of them, but we're looking to advance that. And as I said, I have a commitment from some of the companies in town to donate lighting towers and construction heaters so that we could run it through even just this year to get through with the shell as it's going to be. So it will be a finished exterior with the doors and stuff like that. The interior will be the wooden frame at this junction, and going forward. Stage 2 was where we would look at insulating, finishing the lighting, and that would be with all the metal in the kick wall. So at that point, it's quite functional. Fully functional, 2.5, it's sort of getting more deluxe because we have the air handling units, a few more heaters, that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Stewart, thank you so much for your presentation. I know this has been a sort of a multi-year project for your organization. It's gone through a lot of different iterations, but I know it sounds like you're finally kind of making headway on it. So that's exciting, and I'm always excited to hear about new facilities or enhanced facilities in our community. So you're coming tonight and asking $300,000 from the town of Edson. Have you approached any other government or any other levels?
We met with the county this morning, and we've requested $500,000 from them.
500,000.
Yeah.
And what was so through the mayor, just to follow up, how did you come to 500,000 from county and 300,000 from the town?
Those were previous amounts, I believe, that were to the other build, which was, I think that was like a $4 million build. But what we're looking for in a perfect situation is if we can get through 2.5 with this build, then we've got a fully functional multi-use facility, as I mentioned, that would service all of the groups and the activities that we were talking about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Byer.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Stewart. Quickly, just to follow up from Councillor Taylor's question, if you're asking 300,000 from the town and 500 from the county, and it looks like you're taking out a mortgage and you've got some committed funds and services in lieu, I think there's still some funds that aren't accounted for, if I'm understanding the way that you've kind of written this up, to get to that $1.7 million total.
Yeah, 1.7, I believe that goes through to the, to all of the phases, so that would be the complete build.
Okay, so the funding required, the 1.2.
1.2 is what we were looking at for this initial. As I mentioned, these are all phases, so we would be looking further. As I mentioned, there's a lot of provincial grants and stuff like that through the ag societies, through these there's a little bit like they use the term culture and enhanced activities in the communities for multi-group usages. Those grants is what we would be looking for probably down the line to finish up phase 3 and 4. So as I say, our ask that we're looking at is phase 1, 2, and 2.5.
Can I just add something?
If you want to come up,
So I think
you want to introduce yourself first, please?
I'm Kaylee Grote, I'm the president. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're asking is, so the 800,000 between the two gets us essentially through phases 1 through 2.5. So through those phases, we can basically be back to where we were. We're fully functional. We're able to accept all user groups. We're not in the position where we're having to turn away anybody that's requesting to use our facility. So at that point, phases 3 and 4, I guess for lack of better words, aren't really mandatory. So the hope would be at that time, 2 to 3 years from now, that we would be creating enough revenue, have our mortgage paid off, that we can then kind of sustain ourselves through that. And the other thing is, we actually do have a plan to go back out to the community and ask for sponsorships. So previously we had gone to them, and there were, I think, 10 to 12 different businesses that were committed to helping us with the project. So when we changed the scope of the project, we went back to them, met with them, explained to them, we took their commitment letters back to them and said, we really appreciate your support on this previous project. We've since then changed our scope. And the feedback from the majority of them was, we still want to support you, but come back to us when you've got a plan and you're committed to it. So at this point now, we've got this business plan put together. We've worked with a professional to build it. The construction has started. We're committed. So now we feel that a lot more confident going back out to our community and our businesses to approach them for funding again. So the rest of that money will come from, hopefully, what we potentially plan on is the community involvement. So naming sponsors, parting out the arena. So getting somebody to sponsor the kick walls, getting somebody to sponsor the announcer booth. The majority of other ag societies in Alberta, that's what they've done. So they go out and, Cal Tire has sponsored the announcers booth and that type of thing in lieu of sponsorship and advertising. So that would be the plan for the remainder of those funds to come up with, would be through sponsorship and fundraising.
Okay. Can I have one more follow-up?
Yeah, one more follow-up.
Okay. And thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Was definitely a gap in when I was
Clarification,
reading
yeah.
it. So thank you very much for clarifying that. Just one more question regarding funding. That's great that you've already started. So you kind of have hopefully a good idea on the budgeting of what the materials cost. Do you have a secured amount for that, I guess, going from phase 1 to 2.5 that is there a chance that your materials costs could go up, or do you have like a guarantee from the contractor that if you secure funding by a certain date, you're good?
At this point, the build, as it stands, is guaranteed for this first phase for sure. Going forward, that's something that we would have to look at. It is the same builder that we're looking at that would come back and do the trim and stuff like that. There is no indication that that was going to change at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan?
Through the chair, you said that you applied for a grant through the ASIRP, but you couldn't get it because you didn't have any kind of a building going up. How much of a building do you have to have built before you can apply for that grant?
That, I don't know the details on that. I'm sorry. That would be, that's the amounts that they put out. So then that would be divided out to different applicants. No.
You have to have 20, 50, or 30% of it built or whatever in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure of.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? So you did answer. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Stewart. One of the things that I would need to see, and I think we need to see as the town is audited financial statements. Too often you can come up with a forecast, but we also need to look at where you've been in the past to really understand where you're going into the future. So, and thank you for clarifying the details around the different phases. No doubt, your facility is a well-used facility. I've heard
Yes.
from many of your members, some of them actually in town, which is surprising to me,
Yep.
that they do go ride horses and do things out of the facility. So we will take your information and then have hopefully an answer for you early in the new year.
Yeah, we can provide last year's audited. As I mentioned, our year end just ended in the end of September here. So our books are just out. So this year's are not audited as of yet.
Okay.
So we can provide it as it is, I guess, if that's satisfactory.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how long the audit process would take.
Yeah. I think if we could get copies of your audited financial statements for the last couple of years, I think that'd be.
Yep, yeah, we can provide that.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for having us.
And you guys are free to stay if you like for the rest of the meeting, or if you'd like to enjoy the rest of the night, we certainly understand that as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, you must stay for the rest of the meeting. I'm sorry to tell you this. All right, can I get a motion, please, that council approve administration to write off the 2023 uncollectible accounts as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you very much. And we have Ms. Tricia Papke, Accounting Supervisor, who will be presenting on this RFD this evening. Welcome, Tricia. I'll just get you to hit your microphone there.
Such a newbie. Thank you. Fairly standard accounts. We monitor those regularly. We review them. Those that become to be sitting in an arrears situation, we do make multiple attempts to collect those. If they remain in an outstanding or unpaid status, after all efforts have been exhausted, we do bring them forward to council to have them written off. There's many reasons they could end up uncollectible, which were part of the RFD tonight. And so, yeah, tonight there's just a small list of accounts that are brought forward. One note I do need to make is you will see there is there has been a typing error made on the second one listed under the utilities. It is shown that it was placed at the collection agency on November 1st of 2023, which is very inaccurate. It was placed there on November 1st of 2021. So they've been there for the 2 years. So yeah.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions on $168.53? Wow. In a $40 million budget? Go ahead. Councillor Moore. Yes, we do have a question. Thank you.
Yeah. Just curious, do we have any repeat people from the past? Not to mention names or anything?
Through the mayor? No, typically I would suggest no. They do, some of them, they sit at the debt collector, but we are very conscious of that. And if we do have a vendor who may have been, problematic for collections, we do monitor, maybe I would suggest a little closer, and are very aware of those and do our best to ensure that they don't end up repeat offenders.
Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. Papke. I'm going to assume the receivables are airport landing fees for the American companies?
Yes, they are.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I kind of joke about this one because I've seen some pretty hefty lists, and this is pretty tiny. So I think you guys have done a great job. So thank you very much for that. Council, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Tricia. We will move on to FCSS Advisory Board grant recommendations. Getting a motion, please, the council approve the Family and Community Support Services FCSS grants totaling $9,300 as presented. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And presenting on this this evening, Tanya Byers, our Senior Manager of Community Services, and Diana Chomniak of the FCSS Advisory Board. She is the chair. Welcome.
Thank you very much. So, just click this. Oops, sorry. How do I go back, Tanya? Perfect. So, FCSS Advisory Board members, along with administration and council representative, Councillor Taylor, met October 30th, 2023 to review the FCSS grant applications and decide upon recommendations to be put forward to council for approval. We received 5 applications totaling $18,625, and with our remaining budget of $9,300, difficult decisions had to be made. The advisory board came to unanimous decision regarding grant recommendations. So these are the summary and recommendations. Edson United Church, for their volunteer coordination, $2,500 was requested and $2,500 was recommended by the board. Community Engagement Action Team, for their youth mental health presentations, $2,025 requested and $2,025 was recommended by the board. Edson and District Community Learning Society, for their newcomers program, requested $1,600. $1,600 was recommended by the board. Edson Food Bank Society, for their volunteer coordination, $7,500 was requested. $3,175 was recommended by the board. And FASD Services Network Society, for their parent-child assistant programs, $5,000 was requested and $0 were recommended by the board. So those were our recommendations. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much for that presentation. Council, any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. Chomniak and Ms. Byers, thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you for the great meeting we had when we discussed this. This was our first time doing this as a group, and it was very, very efficient. We met, it was like, 45 minutes, less than an hour. You can share on my meetings, by the way. It was less than an hour. So, and it was great. And it was great discussions. I kind of hung back and just watched the discussions and then sort of participated as we went on. There were great questions throughout from everyone, and everyone participated and gave great comments throughout. So I just wanted to say, like we're off to a great start in terms of that board. So the only other thing I just want to add, and that is, we approved this funding tonight. What I would like to see somewhat from administration is to set up what would be photo opportunities with the groups, whether with council or FCSS or both. The idea that telling the community, this is where some of the funding is coming from with these groups. It's being approved at the council level, and having that message go out to the public. This is kind of what we're providing, and also putting that out there, putting it on social media and the paper or whatever, can also encourage other groups to apply for funding. Maybe making our lives a little more difficult down the road, but not a bad thing. Having other groups say, hey, we can fall within this criteria as well. So just like to see that in the future. But thank you so much for your work and work to come.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to the board, I know you have to make difficult decisions, and I'm seeing on that, but you are a support group, so the ones you have to say no to, do you give them support where they can maybe get funding elsewhere? Would you be able to help them with that?
I can maybe speak to that one. Okay, so through the mayor to Councillor Schwinnard, we can certainly recommend, when they're part of the Edson interagency group, anytime that really any members come aware of grant opportunities and such, we do share that out. And obviously, just keeping an eye out, and if it's specific to something like that, we would share it. But as far as the town having other opportunities, we don't have any other that kind of fit that description. But definitely, we share out any opportunities with our user groups.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? I just want to say I'm very glad to see the FCSS Advisory Board being active and doing this. I think it's far more representative when the community is deciding where these grant opportunities go, and obviously finite amounts of money available and a lot of requests out there. So my question to you is, I guess, what was the rationale for these decisions during the board meeting, just to get a better understanding of maybe what the needs are in the community and what the challenges are in terms of trying to disperse those funds?
Well, we were all on the same page. We really wanted to get the best bang for our buck. So we wanted to reach as many in our community as we could. We wanted the money to stay in the community and do as much good as possible. So it was quite easy to decide where the money would go. As far as where we didn't put it, it was outside of the community. So everybody just felt who needs it the most, who is serving the most, and how can we best spend our our funds. Yeah, so that was really our criteria.
All right, well, thank you very much, and I think you guys did a great job trying to, make the money go as far as it can within the community. So if there is no other further questions, comments, or concerns, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion, please, that the meeting move into a closed session to discuss public at-large member appointments to the library board pursuant to section 17, 19, and 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you. And if there's no questions, comments, or concerns, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you very much. Can I get a motion, please, that council appoint the following Edson Public Library Board members with terms commencing immediately and expiring October 19th, 2026? Donna Pillage, Denise Martin, Donna Williams, Christy Williamson, Lolita Tate. Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Motion carried. Congratulations on some of your appointments. Can we get a motion, please, that council approve the 2024 capital budget as presented? Councillor Bevan?
I'll make it so.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. And we are going to hand things over to Mr. Paul Hanlon, General Manager of Corporate Services.
Thank you, sir. I'll just get the PowerPoint presentation up. So going through through you to all of council, going through the 2024 capital budget. The 2024 capital budget includes 21 new initiatives for this year with an estimated budget of $27,798,000. On top of that amount, there are 11 carry forward initiatives, and those are carrying forward with a budget of $8 million. Oh, excuse me. That is $8,990,000. Excuse the typo. In the capital budget, on your attachment in your RFD and in the PowerPoint, you'll see summarized in the yellow the carry forward projects with their funding. The white projects, the 21 initiatives, are the new initiatives. You'll see, sir, through you, the breakdown for reserves, possible assistance from the county for some of our cost share agreements, and grants. There is no debentures proposed for 2024 in the capital budget. A more specific breakdown of that $27,798,000 is as follows. $21,543,706 in grant funding, $6,170,689 through and out of dedicated reserves, $83,604 through cost share agreements with Yellowhead County. With that, sir, happy to answer any questions that council may have on the budget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hanlon. So we will open the floor to questions in regards to the 2024 capital budget. Council, do you have any questions regarding that? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor, Mr. Hanlon or Mr. Kitlitz. Just under the Construction of Township Road 532, the $2 million there. 939,000 from grants. I thought that was all coming from reserves, no?
Go ahead, Mr. Hamlin.
Sir, through you to Councillor Taylor, we will have grant eligible projects, and this is a capital project that would be eligible for granting. It would be contingent upon an application as we do the reconciliation of our grant dollars and finalize our funding for the 2024 capital works.
All right, thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration. So I do want to ask this question on this motion because I'm not sure if it works on the next motions or what. So with the items in the request for decision, it lists all the different resolutions that council has made at the prior workshops and the budget meetings, and where the direction was set. I just have some clarifying questions regarding the Resolution 8 on the budget workshop, which was regarding the upgrades to the community rinks. I didn't see it in the 5-year plan either, and I just kind of want some clarity on that one, on how council can have an understanding that it will be brought forward at a later date, or if another motion has to be made to do that, and also with that B1 design as well. Just so I know you've mentioned it would be in the spring budget, but just how do we know it? Just like, is it just going to magically show up there, or is there a process so you know, anybody watching can know how it will come back?
Sir, if I could, through you to Councillor Byer, if you'll notice on the overhead under facilities, the third item is upgrade. So it is here, upgrades for community rinks in cooperation with community groups. It is currently to be determined. So administration is continuing to investigate how that could and would proceed and what the costs associated with that would be. At this point, I'm wondering if Mr. Kitlitz would like to speak to B1 and administration's thoughts on how that would come back.
Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Councillor Byer. So based on the resolution that you'd mentioned, the council has requesting information about the design work for that. So we are going to go out to our pre-qualified consultants with a quote to get that design work done. So our intention is to bring it back for spring budget so council can see that cost to decide whether they add it when added in at that time. So, and on the 5-year plan, it is listed as B1, and right now it's to be determined the funding sources. So we will not lose it.
Go ahead, Councillor Byer, with a follow-up.
Yes, just thank you, and my apologies. I thought it would be under parks, the community rinks, and I guess it's not. So thank you very much for clarifying that.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor, probably Mr. Kitlitz, under the library upgrades to parking and stormwater, it's the design. Can you just, maybe I should have asked this maybe at the last budget workshop, but I'll ask it now, what that completely entails, and I'll probably just have a follow-up question to that.
Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Sure. Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. So as part of the preparation for that project, one of the things that we determined was that sadly, when that building was built, the storm sewer drainage was connected to our sanitary system, which we don't want to do, add extra water to our sanitary. So what we want to do is do a design for taking care of the on-site storage of that water and directing it towards our storm system rather than the sanitary. So we're going to try to do design work. It may, we talked about maybe doing a parking lot on the 2 lots to the south side of the library. And that's a great place to contain stormwater before we put it to our system. So this design will take a look at that and determine what the cost might be to do that work.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, and just further to that, to the parking, I know we'd spoken about for land use bylaw, whether or not that would be like a necessary component in terms of parking or having that additional parking, because I'm not sure how many, I guess, stalls would be involved in that, but is that a process we look within the land use bylaw and then the design work of this project?
Mr. Kitlitz?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I think, you know, the land use bylaw does require building to have parking. It doesn't have any off-street parking right now. And I guess the perspective that I would share is that, you know, a lot of applications to come through to our department for private businesses require off-street parking. And, you know, we aren't even providing it on our own facilities. So, by all means, I think the new land use bylaw requirements, I think one of the roads we're going down is less parking. So, I think part of this work is going to be establishing what is needed and if any, and it's more about the storm drainage is about the parking, but I think it would be advisable, from my perspective, to provide at least some off-street stalls. I should clarify that there is some in the rear lane. So my apologies, I did forget about the rear lane stalls. So,
Councillor Pasicny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. Sometimes when you design a parking lot, your stormwater is designed into your parking lot as like makeshift ponds. So that's why you'll see large dips, and then they'll hold the water and let it go slowly. So you can design your storm management into a parking lot. So you essentially get two things for the same price.
Thank you, Council. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? I do have a question through to administration, and this ties in with our next item, so I do apologize. They're kind of linked. So I'm under facilities, civic center renovations. I guess what is administration's plan regarding that? I know we have spoken about it previously. When I look at the 5-year capital plan and I look at a $3 million bill down the road, I without question believe that this facility is not meeting the needs of our staff without question, and investments needed. But I'm not sure if the investment into this building is necessarily the right long-term solution, or we should be looking at other options. And I think I've spoken to that previously. I'm really challenged by that because I see both sides of that coin. So I don't know, administration, if you can speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to all of council, we are exploring other options as well. As other opportunities have arisen, it is definitely something that we are looking at. When we have these items within the draft, it's, as we're stating right now, the draft capital plan. I was trying to get a little bit more information in advance of this meeting in order to support this item. And I think from the perspective is that regardless if whether we're doing renovations to this facility or we're moving to a new facility, we're going to need to make sure that we have earmarked funding to do so. So that's really what's intended there. So at this point, I have spent less than $5,000 with regards to design on this facility for this year, just to get a better picture as far as a more efficient use of the space. And we've paused at this moment in time in order to explore some other options that are available that were not available when we first explored this earlier this year.
All right, thank you very much for that, CEO Beveridge. I just, long-term, doing a renovation here might be suitable for the next short-term needs of this community, but we are maxed for space, as we know, and case in point, we had some meetings here last week, and we're crunched into a office that's been converted into a little bit of a boardroom, and it's just not. There are private businesses that have larger and more efficient meeting rooms than we have in here, and we're meeting all the time. So it makes it very difficult, and I know that we're using external facilities and renting them, and it's providing cost to us as well. So I'm glad administration is looking at that moving forward. Councillor Pasicny.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration and council, civic buildings are very unpopular and quite often get petitioned. We would have one that almost be paid for right now if the last one wasn't petitioned. So anyway, that's just my.
That's not directed to any member of council. Is it, Councillor Pasicny? All right. We will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the draft 5-year capital plan as information? Councillor Chenard.
For information.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. And do you want to speak to this, Mr. Hamlin?
Thank you, sir. Through you to all of council. Try and make this a little larger so we can see it here. So council has been seeking this. We did have a discussion through the budget meeting on this. It was in your package, and I don't believe we need to go through line by line, but of course we see in the first page, we see community and protective services and the items identified for years 2024 through 2028 in the fire services, enforcement services area, leisure, parks and so forth. Totals for that department, that division at the bottom of page 1. And for essentially the other major capital division for the town of Edson, pages 2 and 3, we see for infrastructure and planning. And at the end of page 3, we see the estimated totals for those years, 2024, 2025, 26, 27, and 28. Administration is available to answer any questions that you may have on this information item.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions on this? Obviously, this is a plan at this point in time and subject to budget availability. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, thank you for putting this all together. This is something, we've been wanting to see, I guess, and just having, and obviously it's a plan that's very fluid. It's going to change, and it should change over years based on needs and things like that. One item, just wondering if it had, where it falls within this, is we have sort of had discussions about the Trails Master Plan, which I know was brought in like 2017, 2018. And with regards to updates to trails or adding new trails, especially trails that are disguised as sidewalks or sidewalks disguised as trails, and whether or not that is something within our 5-year plan or where it would face, or just in terms of recommending that be added somewhere within the plan for future iterations of it. So wonder if that was discussed within administration.
Go ahead, Mr. Hanlon.
Thank you, sir. Through you to Councillor Taylor, to all of council. To answer your question, yes, it was discussed. The senior leadership team administration is aware of the Trails Master Plan, and it is our intention into 2024 that we take a closer look at that and the implications of what that may mean for capital investments for 24, 25, 26, and so forth.
Thank you.
Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Hanlon. The only one you started with protective services and the 2027 replacement of engine 604. You couldn't replace that engine today at $500,000. I'm not sure how you'd replace it in 2027 unless you're thinking something used. But our last engine, which is 605, was replaced for just under $500,000. So most engines now are running between, I believe it's around $650,000 and $1 million for an engine.
Go ahead, Mr. Hanlon.
Thank you, sir. Through you to Councillor Pisichny, to all of council. Yes, that is correct. Certainly, it's not the intention of this plan to be proposing or anticipating used equipment or anything to that effect. I did hear one of the councillors reference a placeholder as a term a little earlier. To a certain extent, this is a placeholder. It's been identified by the chief as a necessity, as a need, and actually Chief Milton has just prepared a preliminary draft 10-year capital plan that better identifies the numbers associated with this item.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns regarding the 5-year capital plan as information? Thank you very much for your preparation for this. Great to see, and a little scary to see the amount of work for sanitary and storm sewer, but certainly a priority, as well as road rehabilitation work. We have a lot to accomplish over the next 5 years, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to tackle some of that moving forward. Mr. Kitlitz, did you have a comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I just thought one thing we thought we'd talk about to share is this, that on this plan where you see rehabilitation, just so it's clear to everybody what that means. When we say it's a rehabilitation project, it's everything. So we're ripping up sidewalks, road, water, sanitary, storm, and doing the whole thing. So that's what's different between a rehabilitation, where it's just a roads project, we're just doing a road project, where it's sanitary, it's just that. So just so there's clarity on what rehabilitation means, that was our intent, to demonstrate that it's everything within that particular area, just for clarity.
All right, thank you. Council, no further questions or comments. I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that council cancel the scheduled November 22nd, 2023 budget meeting? Councillor Pisichny?
I so move.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please? I had to do that, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the 2024 interim operating budget with revenues and expenditures of $20.42485 million? Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, and we will turn things over to Mr. Hanlon, General Manager of Corporate Services, and Dave McReynolds of TSI.
Thank you, sir. Through you to all of council, I will turn this presentation over to Mr. McReynolds joining us remotely, and his PowerPoint is on the overhead at this time.
Dave, do you want to turn on your mic and take it away?
My apologies. Thank you, Paul, and thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Dave McReynolds, and I'm pleased to be here to present the 2024 interim operating budget this evening. Our request for decision tonight is administration is requesting the approval of the 2024 interim operating budget with revenue and expenditures of $20,042,485. The requested interim budget is 50% of the 2023 approved budget with additional operational initiatives. The final operating budget will be brought forward in the spring along with the mill rate bylaw. On your screen is the 2024 interim budget summary document as part of your package this evening. I'll walk you through the columns. The first column is the 2023 council approved operating budget. We're seeking 50% of that budget in column number 2.
Excuse me, sorry, Dave. Can you make the table larger at your end? Can you just enlarge it?
It's in your package.
Does that work?
That doesn't really work for us.
That doesn't really work for us.
Presentation.
That's as big as I can make it, I'm sorry. I can maybe share the other documents.
I think we're gonna share it through Paul's screen here.
Okay.
Just give us 1 second.
I'll stop sharing. If you want to continue, I'll speak.
Yeah, you can continue on. We got it up here. Thank you.
So on your screen is the 2024 interim operating budget. The first column is council approved 2023 operating budget. The second column is the 50% operating budget the council or administration is requesting this evening. The third column is the value of the operational initiatives that we're adding to the 50% budget. And the last column is the 2024 interim operating budget that we're requesting this evening. Next slide, Paul. After this evening, in January, administration will continue to work on the operational budget with their departments, and will seek council's input on any new initiatives that they'd like to see within the council, within the operational budget for 2024. In February, we'll continue our preparation and development of that budget, along with the assessment review for the mill rate bylaw. In early March, senior administration will review the final budget, and in late March, council will get an opportunity to review that budget as well. Once all the preparation and review is complete, at the April 23rd, 2024 council meeting, administration will bring forward the final 2024 budget and the mill rate bylaw for council's consideration. Next slide, Paul. So the motion this evening is that council approve the 2024 interim operating budget with revenue and expenditures of $20,042,485. And Mayor and Council, that was my presentation this evening, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Hanlon, do you have anything you want to add?
Sir, through you to council, nothing further.
All right, thank you. CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In order to speak to the operational initiatives, we would ask for a closed session as it pertains to personnel.
All right, administration is asking us to go into closed session due to personnel matters. Council, do you want to make that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Barr.
I so move to go into camera.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion. All right. So is there any further questions, comments regarding the interim operating budget from council or administration? Dave, do you have anything else you need to add, or are you good to go?
Oh, I'm good, Mayor and Council. Just appreciate the opportunity to present to you this evening.
All right, thank you. With that, I will call the, or do you have a question? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration, any organizations, and say, I'll use library as the example, that has requested sort of an increase in funding, how is that dealt with within an interim and then to the final budget? Just an explanation on that, whether it is library, museum, or any other sort of organization within our, that we fund has asked for an increase, just how that's dealt with within the interim to final budget.
Go ahead, Mr. Hanlon. Do you want to speak to that? Oh, Mr. Reynolds, do you want to speak to that?
Mr. McReynolds.
I can.
McReynolds, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the councillor. With the approval of the operating budget, we're getting 50% of the budget approved from 2023. So it's a lump sum money. It's not the details of that money. So if the library is requesting an increase year over year, approval of tonight's budget allows administration to operate January 1 and meet those commitments. The final budget, a few months later, will have all the details, including the increase for the library. So if the library requires additional funding month over month starting in January, this approval would allow that to happen.
All right, thank you. And CO Beveridge, do you have something you wanted to add?
Just to be clear, Mr. Mayor, through to council, that this is an arbitrarily increasing budget without council approval. Essentially, if there are we have other associations that are requiring additional money for budget. So essentially, if it hasn't been already approved, it'll still come forward for council approval at the final budget stage.
Thank you. And just also to mention, this is a true interim budget in terms of just keeping the lights on and operating as we have been in the past. It isn't what has been classified as an interim budget previously, which is really a draft final budget. So, council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. McReynolds, for your presentation and your assistance on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure. I'll take my leave this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Hanlon, as well, and the rest of the senior leadership team. No information items, no sundry items, council committee reports. We are going to go back to November the 8th, and we will start today with Councillor Chouinard.
Okay, I hope I got the dates right. Just a note, I attended Remembrance Day. November 14th is correct day for the budget. And for Light Up, I'm not reporting on it, but I was very pleased. This is the largest crowd I've seen there, over 500 to 600 people. And I was, a new business opened in Edson, November 18th. Canadian Classic Mattress Place. I did the ribbon cutting. So that's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Chouinard. Only one of those was a committee. Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, I won't report, no, it's 14th, I done a budget meeting.
Oh, sorry, I didn't turn on your mic there. Do you want to, hang on. There we go.
14th, I done a budget meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barr.
Okay, on November 14th, I also had the capital budget meeting, and on November 20th, I attended the homelessness task force meeting. It's been a little while since we've met, and the group has kind of two different objectives we're looking at. Right now, this winter is of concern, of course, as the weather will eventually turn colder, as well as just how do we do things going forward. So it's kind of divided up into two different sections, going back and forth, and just what those different organizations can offer in their current capacities. So that's my report. Oh, wait, actually, you know what, I will mention, just so people kind of have some numbers. We currently have 23 unhoused, unsheltered people using tents in our community. And we're expecting to get about 26 more joining that as they will be evicted from their other locations in our community. So we'll be at around 50 unhoused people, just so you have some current information on that.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. Councillor Pisichny.
Thank you. I attended my first Chamber of Commerce meeting. I thought I spoke long, but they said that the previous rep spoke a lot, so I was okay within my time. On the 14th, I attended the budget meeting. On the 16th, I attended the Edson Seniors Transportation Board meeting. A couple of news coming out of there. If you haven't heard already, they were the successful recipients of the, I hope I'm reading this correctly, the Healthy Aging Alberta grant funding. So we couldn't announce it until the province announced it, but it's been announced, so we can talk about it. It's a twofold money. We have the second largest amount granted to the Edson, to our society. And what it focuses on, there's going to be a van, additional bus essentially added to the fleet. We're looking at a smaller van that can also be used for transporting those with mobility challenges and seniors to the city who may not have the opportunity or the ability to get to the city. So it'll be used for that, and it's coming with multi-year operational funding money. With that, the Edson Senior Transportation Society is going to be going through a rebranding as the Senior Society component is very specific to an age group. But it's going to be expanding into other areas of transportation within our community. Example, there'll be a component that is going to be set up for the food bank. Some people who require the services of a food bank cannot get to the food bank, get home with their groceries without having to hire a cab. They'll have a flat, simple rate that they'll be able to use the certain times of the day. They'll be able to utilize the bus service. And there's other areas within the community they're looking at focusing on. We know as a council, we support that organization, and they are expanding it. And the rebranding is going to be part and parcel because it's not just for seniors. The seniors is the largest ridership, bar none. But we can expect a presentation from the board coming in the new year. But nonetheless, it's very exciting times, and they'll be adding to their fleet. And this grant is very good news for our community. I had one more item. I think I was talking about that too much. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny.
Hey.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. November 14th, I also attended the budget workshop, and that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. The actual Councillor Schwennard, or did I already get you? I already got you. Oh, Councillor Taylor.
On the 14th, I attended the budget meeting, and on the 15th, I attended library board meeting. They're beginning to distribute fundraising packages, and thank you to our town administration for just some tips and advice in the last few days in terms of that and helping out with that. So, change in hours at the temporary location from Monday to Friday. It will be open from 10 till 6, and that's going to start on December 1st. And great news regarding the renos is that the building permit came in, I guess, from the province where that worked. And the renos are now, it's got it on the inside, the renos are now underway on the inside of the building. I'll try sharing some photos. I think there are some photos that we have available, but I'll try sharing with council, maybe out to the public to see some of the work that's being done. And that's my report.
And it's also great to see that some of the subcontractors are local, working on that project, and the project manager is local as well. So, thank you for that, Councillor Taylor. November 14th, had a budget meeting with the rest of council, and then on the 15th, CO Beveridge and I had some post-emergency meetings with Alberta Health Services and CN. Some really good news for Alberta Health Services, I think. Hearing the news that most of our nursing positions are filled at the hospital. They also have a new site manager that is local that they're promoting from within. So some positive changes there. They're gone to their online healthcare portal. I know there's been some disruptions and some challenges with that, but that's going to be a really big advancement in healthcare. So if somebody gets sick or injured in another location, those facilities will be able to access that information. So really good, and some really good conversations with CN as well in terms of continued collaboration. And I thought it was really good, and I think we're going to be continuing to meet with Alberta Health Services in the future, seeing how we can work better together and deal with some of the challenges that we have in regards to healthcare in our community. So with that, we have no financial items. Questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting? A fresh face, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Christy Williamson. Good evening, everyone. I have a question through the mayor to whoever can answer it. Where did the grant funds come from for the FCSS board?
Mr. Wagstaff, I don't know if you have an answer to that, or actually, you know what, we probably could find that information. I don't know that answer for you, but we'll find that out for you. If you can leave your contact information,
okay,
we can let you know.
Okay, thank
Unless, you. I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Good question. Any other questions? Thank you. With that, I will call for a motion for adjournment. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
A motion for adjournment.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously.